Welcome to Make a Difference with Phil Martelli. He is Phil Martelli. I am Jared Phillips. And Phil, it feels like the holiday season never really truly ends, right? You talk about Thanksgiving, Christmas. We just had Valentine's Day. And really, we're rolling right into Lent and Easter. And in all of that time, I feel like one of the biggest things that's on a lot of people's mind is sacrifice, right? The things you're giving up for others, for yourself, to kind of stay disciplined. And I feel like that's a really, really important thing to hone in on as you get through that stretch of this season.
Sure, this idea of Lent, uh, and it's always about what are you giving up. So I'm going to make a suggestion, and we flip it. We have a couple days to get ready, but what is it that you're going to do? Rather than give something up, what can you do? What can you do at home if you're a child, a parent, a spouse? What can you do at home that's more? That is, you are giving more. In your schools, what can our students do? Is there a student in their class that they haven't really engaged with all year? How about just a hello? How about if you made it a mission over these 40 days to just say, you know what, I'm going to speak to one person a day that I haven't connected with before? In your community, are there opportunities where you can give rather than take away from yourself? Can you give? Can you give your time? Can you give your talent? Can you give your treasures? And how about for yourself? What can you give? Maybe you say, you know what, I'm going to give myself 10 minutes a day for quiet, or I'm going to give myself 20 minutes a day to read. More about doing than denying, if that makes sense. And if everybody out there could become a doer, we would have better homes, we'd have better schools, we'd have better communities, we'd have better teams, and we'd have better individuals. Just a thought, just a thought. Rather than think about during Lent, what am I denying myself? What if we thought about what am I doing for others? What's one more thing that I could do for others? And ultimately, make a difference.
Well, we have somebody coming up on the show today that's definitely making a
Oh,
difference for one of the very best teams in the country. And it's going to be awesome to hear from him in just a moment. But we got to get through that
first we have
Martelli
to
minute.
do Martelli Minute. Statussolutions.com. What are they doing? There they are. They are providing safety in our schools so that our school children can learn comfortably and without anxiety. Every community can help make safe schools. Go to statussolutions.com. We appreciate them always being connected with us. But the Martelli Minute, sitting alone allows you to listen more intently. How about if you're sitting alone? 6:30 every day. Instagram, Phil_Martelli, and that pops up. Sitting alone allows you to listen more intently. A happy life results from stringing good days together. I guess the new word is stacking, like they say you're supposed to. I'm sticking with stringing good days together. Embrace the opportunities presented. Never fear the result. Embrace the opportunities presented. Never fear the result. Free yourself by eliminating self-imposed limitations. Challenge yourself to leave every situation better for you having been involved. And then along that Lenten theme, lift another. Everyone's going through something. You be the lift and the energy. The Martelli Minute. And so many of these apply to our guest. Wait till you hear this resume. You don't even know the half of this resume. But the Martelli Minute, where can you get it again?
Every morning, 6:30, Instagram at Phil_Martelli, brought to you by Status Solutions.
And we really appreciate it. But get ready. Get ready. Because we do have a member of the number one basketball team in America, the Michigan Wolverines. But to label him just a player, would be the ultimate disrespect. A son, a grandson, a brother, a friend, a teammate, and a scholar. Not a PhD scholar, but a scholar nonetheless. A small town kid, a farm kid who is now a Michigan man. Fascinating. He defies labels. There's no one on the Michigan campus that says, well, he is only a basketball player, because he has embraced the Michigan experience from A to Z. A fascinating young guy. High school quarterback. We would often talk about when I was out there with him quarterbacking, and he was a get it and fling it kind of guy. Second leading scorer in the state of Minnesota. And you're like, huh. Well, the number one scorer in the state happened to have won a world championship with Oklahoma City last year, Chet Holmgren. Our guest was number 2 in the state. Took up track and field for something to do spring of his senior year. Champion. State champion. Member of the school band. And well over a 4.0 GPA. Like, this is, for the old timers, this is Chip Hilton. Always said it. One of the great stories that should become a movie. He's already graduated from Michigan in 3 years. Not 4, 3. Worked a couple masters, working his way towards a PhD. All you hear about is transfer, NIL, pay for play. Well, you know what? Everybody out there, it's time to celebrate, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to celebrate with Will Tschetter, one of the finest human beings that I've ever been around, and a member of the number 1 team in the country, the Michigan Wolverines. Will, thanks for joining Make a Difference.
Man, of course. Very, very excited to be here, Coach.
So, Will, I know the story, but not a lot of people do. Could you describe a typical day for you, your senior year in high school? What was a typical day in September like for you as you're a senior in high school?
Man, senior year of high school was a weird year because, not to age myself with how long I've been in college, but we were still going through COVID at that point, and we had hybrid classes, but it was wake up, knock out some farm chores that my dad had or my mom had probably written out on a sticky note on the counter. It was always, Will, we love you so much. Please do the farm chores. This is what needs to be done. And then go to virtual class. And then in September, we actually had a football season. So we were able to, go, to football practice in September. We weren't very good my senior year, but it was still a blast to be able to go out there with, the coaching staff that I had been with. My dad was a coach, and, just enjoy that experience one last time. And then get a good workout in with my mom and my brothers on the basketball court after. We had a court in our backyard right next to our barn. So, it was always great to be able to, work out outside with them.
Let's not short shift here. Brag about your mom and your dad. First, as their athletic background, and then as the people that they are.
Yeah, so I'll start with my dad, not to just get him out of the way, because his resume is a little bit shorter. He played football at North Dakota State, won a national championship there. He was the infamous holder on the team. He was a holder and a wide receiver. Played a lot of senior year, and then that's his resume. And then my mom's resume, she was 3-time national champion, 4-time All-American, leading scorer in NDSU's history, has over 2,000 college points, and yeah, probably the best women's basketball player to go through, or she is the best women's basketball player to go through NDSU. And yeah, they were both like super influential to my journey. They didn't really ever push me to, like, especially my mom, like, obviously I had heard the stories about how great of a basketball player she was growing up. I mean, you walk into, our high school gym and you see, all the 1,000-point basketballs, and it was, she was the school's leading scorer, and obviously everyone talked about it. But she was never like putting pressure on my brothers or I to, choose basketball as a sport or anything like that. And obviously my dad on the football end was the same way, never really putting any pressure, making sure that I was having the most holistic experience possible. As you mentioned earlier, like playing in the band was always a must. We were always, my brothers and I all went through band, and different clubs in high school and just things like that, making sure that we were well-rounded. Well-rounded was always the way that my mom and dad put it. So that was very, very important to our family.
Okay, now Will, you and I can really dig down here. How about your parents' academic pursuits? Right? Let's talk about that.
I knew this was coming. I knew the high school academic jab was coming. Yeah, it was always, I would say academics was taken more seriously in our house than sports were. And like that started from a very like young age. It was apparent that we don't care what you're going to do athletically, but you need to be a good student. You need to be, as I said earlier, a well-rounded kid. And I feel like that really started when we lived in China and we saw like like we went to an amazing school at the International School of Beijing, and like just the experience that provided, and it was very, very eye-opening, kind of allowed for them to see and for us to see like what, academic, I mean, I guess you could say like academic brutality like really is, like how intense it can be.
Mm-hmm.
And so going back to the States and moving back to the States, it was of the utmost importance that, we got the best grades possible. And we won't talk about, sophomore year. That was my only slip up in Espanol.
A- in Spanish. Can you imagine?
Yeah. Wasn't great. I was reminded that of the daily, by the way, or at least weekly, when Coach Phil was here with me. And yeah, he never let me down for that.
So, Will, the first thing that pops into my head when I think of you, besides the absolute well-roundedness, is this teammateship. I'm not sure it's a word, but what does it mean to you, and how did you develop that characteristic that is, I think, put you head and shoulders over so many quote unquote basketball players? Teammateship. What's it mean to you?
Man, I think teammateship is just being there, and being able to just make others better, bring out the best in other people. I feel like I was blessed with, a pretty cool gift of being able to, read people pretty well. I know you're a big people person as well. And just see like, when someone's not having a good day, or, when someone's off their game, when something just isn't right. So being able to, just know what every person individually needs to, bring them up and make them better, and get them in a good spot. Whether it's, obviously on the court happens a lot as a teammate, but even when you're just in the locker room and you see someone struggling maybe with the basketball side of things or the school side of things, just being able to make them, a better person is very, very important.
Hey, Will, I just want to chime in here and let you know, I think that might be the third or fourth word Phil has just kind of created or made up since we started this podcast. Teammateship is a new one. That's the first I've heard of that one.
It's not a word?
I don't think so. There's probably a word for it somewhere, but we all know what you meant.
Look, when you have 4 PhDs,
Yo, it only took 15 minutes for you to reference the 4 PhDs. I knew it was coming.
Well, the Michigan experience, you've embraced it. How would you describe it to an outsider, somebody that hasn't been to Michigan or hasn't been at a big school, or CEOs that watch this that have been out of school for a long time? You've embraced it and certainly enjoyed the Michigan experience. What is that?
Man, I don't even know if you can really describe, like, me describing the Michigan experience won't even begin to explain really what it is or what it's meant to me or how much I've enjoyed it. It is everything from obviously people are going to say oh yeah, running out of the tunnel of Chrysler in front of a sold out crowd or, winning a big game at home. But it's tons of different groups of people that you're meeting every day. I have friends from class that I've been friends with for 4 years that I met on the first day of, Kelk, 125, my freshman year. I have friends from, the fishing club that I'm in here in Michigan. I have friends, all over the place. So, from meeting really, really cool, interesting people from all different walks of life, to, having the experience of going to elite sporting events, to, different business conferences and sports business conferences. The experience never really stops, to be honest. And the elite alumni network and all those, different alumni that you get to network with and meet and hear their stories about when they were at school at Michigan and how much, Ann Arbor has changed or, what they enjoyed doing. It truly just never really stops. And, it's been such a, cool, college experience to have. And I think just a truly unique one.
And how about because I happen to notice about you, the Sunday nights where you get involved in the church community there?
Yeah.
Does that quiet down what is a busy lifestyle?
Yeah. I mean, this year we've played a lot of weekend games. It's been, tough to, find time for that. But obviously it's still really, really important. I text a ton with, my pastor, Pastor Elizabeth. She's great. And that's another community that's been, always there for me. And doors open no matter, how many weeks I may, disappear because of crazy commitments. They're always there and, tons of people to talk to, and always kind of a good release point from a super busy life.
So this kind of bleeds into this next question for me is, for a young person who is taking this all in, taking in the Michigan experience, the organizational skills, did you bring them with you? Or is it something that you've grown with over the past 5 or 6 years?
I'll be completely honest. That's probably the thing that I need to develop more is my organizational skills. I'm all over the place with, I might be the only person on campus that doesn't have a Google Calendar. But the Canvas calendar has saved me hundreds and hundreds of times from missing assignments and things like that. So that's how, I stay on top of my academics. But like just having like that, like gift of just like that internal clock of things that, and like time management and being able to manage, your social life, your academics, and your athletics. I think that's something that is like exponentially improved for me since stepping on campus my first year. And I honestly think like my redshirt year was so necessary for that exact reason. Just being able to, handle a completely different workload academically, being exposed to, thousands and thousands of people at the same school, like socially was a really big jump from my class of 130 people. So, definitely has been a big learning curve in that sense.
So senior night approaches, you've watched them over the years in different iterations of them. Where are your emotions with senior night?
Man, yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot and been talking with as you know Namari. Been
Yes.
talking to Namari about that, and it's just, man, it's been such a like wild and long, but seems like yesterday, like super short, ride here. And like I'll still like look up at Chrysler and, look into the rafters and be like, man, like it feels like I just got here. Like it doesn't even feel like I've been able to like really like take this in. And I think there's like a little bit of like an internal fear, like, man, like did I really like enjoy this as much as I should have, or did I appreciate this as much as I should have, or did I get the most out of my experience as I should have? So there's definitely a lot of mixed feelings going into senior night, and that last game in Chrysler will be obviously very emotional. But at the end of the day, we're playing, a good team to stay locked in for in Michigan State. So that'll always be, first and foremost on the list is getting a win against them.
You've had a lot of experiences, obviously, in different sports at different levels. You've played club, you played college. Most influential teammate, coach, support staff person, manager, who pops into your head as this person didn't change my path, but maybe they smoothed my path or they lifted me when I fell? Most influential.
Yeah, I would say just right off the bat, like beginning of my journey, there's two, like my high school coach and my AAU coach growing up, were the two people that, really changed, and molded like me as a person and as like a player to be able to get to the spot and put me in the position, like that, like I'm really in today. And Coach German allowed me to just, play carefree and make tons of mistakes, so that I was able to, develop my game to a point where, I was getting recognized. And then, Coach Tower, who's now, the head, or I guess he's always been the head coach at St. Thomas, but now the Division I St. Thomas. He coached our AAU team when they were Division III, and he really helped me like develop like my outside shot and my game and shooting, which really kind of changed my trajectory and expanded my game. And kind of like the mental side, he's a psychology professor, so for him to be able to kind of bring like the psychological part of the game and help me develop that as well was very, very big.
So, Will, we always end this segment with a question, and I could answer it for you, but I'm not going to. Who's made a difference in Will Tschetter's life?
Man, I'd say my parents are first and foremost. I know that sounds like a, kind of vanilla answer, but, just like the support that they've always given me through even just like these last 5 years. Obviously, it was a rocky road. There's been highs, there's been lows. But, I think they only missed like 4 games this year out of, the 30 regular season. So for them to be able to show that kind of, commitment to me, and always kind of be there for me when, things are either going amazing or things aren't going great, just means a lot. And, they'll just always continue to have my back, no matter what happens.
I would have jumped through the screen if you had not said them, by the way. Well, I have had a lot of opportunities, being in a lot of locker rooms with a lot of players. And I don't think I ever had it wrong when I first talked with you, that you truly, truly will leave a mark, and you have left a mark. Michigan basketball, and I hope that it continues for another 6 weeks. Quite monumental. But what you've done and how you've done it, you've done more for me than I could ever do for you. And for that, I say thank you.
Man, thank you, Coach. I still remember like that first phone call. I was out walking doing farm chores, and I got the call from you. I was like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna fall off the gate I'm climbing over right now." That was, man, it seems like yesterday.
Well, I'll be watching, Will. I'm always following, and that whole crew.
Oh yeah.
Lifted me when I was alone, and my family was not there. And I thank you. I thank you for all that you've done. And please, we will stay connected.
Of course. Appreciate you having me. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Will. You can just like tell immediately when someone's just got such a good head on their shoulders.
Oh my gosh.
And he obviously he knows exactly where it comes from. And once you say, you're like, I was going to jump through the screen if you didn't say your parents, you could just tell that's where he was going all along.
Right.
That was a layup, but really cool to hear from. I mean, a key piece to one of the very best teams in the country right now, that they have, every opportunity.
And to the campus. Believe me, he's embraced in all of those different communities, like a fishing club, and his major is extraordinary, and he'll be set for life. He'll be a PhD sooner rather than later. And to say that about a young person, special guy. And I don't know, it popped into my head the other day. We had a little bit of a scheduling, not mishap. Our guest today was scheduled, had to opt out because of a funeral, and we will get that guest coming up here. But Will's name, and I thought, yeah, this is all that's good. We're not talking NIL. We're not talking transfer. We're not talking about pay for play. Man, what an advertisement for all that's good about college basketball right there. Will Tschetter. Ovation for him.
He do you think he would have any insight into Coach's Corner as they kind of get to the stretch run and they hope to be playing come April?
I don't think. I think that players play, like I felt a little bit awkward even bringing up senior night, because that's a couple weeks out for them. Maybe March 5th or 6th or something. And I think that Coach's Corner to me became very personal as I've watched a whole series of games at all different levels. And I thought about the last game. We talked about the season ending, and we talked about how you had to take care of others. And yes, you start to plan for your next year. And I just thought it would be appropriate as seasons, and it seems odd to be talking about seasons ending in the middle of February. It's too soon. But high school and grade school, middle schools, they end. And I just wanted to share like last game emotions People used to say to me, "Were senior nights hard?" And I would say, "No, I just saw those as a rite of passage." Like you go through 4 years, and there's a first game, and then there's a last game, and you manage that. Uh, and there have been occasions where we've been on the road, and the other team was over emotional about senior night, and I thought we would have a chance to win. There are others that say we'll do senior night after the game, as to not. But you have so many people coming to town, and particularly schools that are national, like a Michigan, UConn women. These people have to come from out of town. You have to make all these plans. And then I said, you know what? Let me internalize that. And let me talk about, to all of our coaches, to all of our parents, to all of our CEOs, that next day, after the last day, after the last game, there's a next day. And I will say, in all of my years as a high school coach and as a college coach, the day after the last game was always the most challenging. Whether we had won a championship that year, whether we had ended our season early, I can always remember there was not a day where I didn't cry. And it was over this. Will mentioned it. Did I do the very best for my team that year? And I was selfishly wanting one more day, because I could fix that out of bounds play, or I could help this kid who was struggling during the year and maybe was not a rotation guy. I just wanted one more day. And then the third thing was this: we will never pass this way again. Because even the next year, and you say, well, we'll start workouts in the spring. Yeah, but it's not with the same group. Could be the same people, but they're not the same agendas. Juniors become seniors, and now they start worrying about, where do I go next? In today's world, transfer moving. In the business world, who's looking for a different opportunity? Who maybe needs to go to a different department? And I think that the finality would always hit me. And so for all of you out there, that day after, take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. The day after your last event, your last sale, your last business meeting, whatever it would be, you're not alone. And it's not selfish to say, I could do this. But then the day after, you get on with, how do we build this thing again? I just thought it would be really important in the coach's corner for all of us to recognize, yeah, we understand. And to take that moment for yourself, it's all right. It's all right. Not selfish.
Very important lesson in managing emotions. As we mentioned, our thanks again to our guests. Well, I'm sure Will's going to have quite a few emotions going through at the time he spent in Ann Arbor. I mean, it's coming down the pipeline for him. It's got to be exciting.
Yeah,
but
he's redshirted, and the challenges with Jawan Howard, not challenges with Jawan, but Jawan leaving the school that he loved, and he got Will to fall in love with. And then the teammates coming and going. We didn't even talk about that. It's quite a different animal, in quotation marks, as to when he first went to college. That's for sure.
do you have any maybe issue, I would say, managing emotions with this hectic schedule of yours? You're really all over the place. And
I do have a challenge, and I have to accept it, in that I'm very regimented when it's not in season. I get my hour and a half in of workout, and with this schedule, it becomes becomes daunting, and I have to do a better job with that. But I'll sacrifice all of these positive emotions that come with following this ball around. So where have I been? The ball. The ball was the key. Went to Richmond and went to a high school game, St. Christopher's versus Collegiate, packed gym, student bodies there, live. Schools are not that far apart. So Philip Stephen was having a chance. He's on the varsity, doesn't play much, and was in that game. His team was down 28 points in the third quarter. They rallied to cut it to 6. They rallied to cut it to 6 and missed a layup that would have cut it to 4. Chris Mooney, the coach of Richmond, Archbishop Ryan, Philadelphia Catholic League, Princeton player, coaches Richmond. His son, Danny, is a sophomore on Philip Stevens' team. Danny, as a sophomore in that big rivalry game, had 41 points, 30 in the second half. And they just kept competing, and it was a joy to be in that building. And then got up early the next day and went to see a third grade rec league with Nathan. He's a second grader on the third grade team, and they played with joy because it was the semifinals, and I'm not sure they know what that means, but they knew that they had to win to play again. Then went to an 8th grade game with St. Bridget's. Mara Josephine, she's an 8th grader. She was playing, and to watch her play and get a win. And then VCU at Richmond. What an environment. Probably 2/3, 1/3 crowd at the Richmond. 20-point lead at half, cut to 1. And VCU was able to get that win. And to just see the competitive fire between the two fan bases, nothing unusual. Made it home to see St. Mary Magdalene 5th and 6th grade team play in the Sweet 16 of the Archdiocesan tournament. And to be in that gym was a lot of fun. And then overriding all of this was the reason we were there was Callan Martelli, Jimmy's daughter, in the 2nd grade. And she can go. She can sing, she can dance, she can tell jokes. She's a ridiculous athlete. And her Marmy and I had tremendous fun taking care of Callan for a couple days. I'm looking forward to getting back down there. But it was all about the ball. It was all about the ball. And then to say, well, where will I go? Where will I go? GW at VCU. I'm going to train to Richmond to see what this feels like. The beauty there is Dwayne Lee, an unbelievable teammate at St. Joseph's, backed up Jameer Nelson, and then led us to the NIT his senior year. Dwayne Lee, beautiful human being, played for the best high school, but played for the best basketball coach in America, Bob Hurley. I'll be able to see him, get back for Ash Wednesday, and then UConn women at Villanova. And I have to tell this Ash Wednesday story. 10 days ago, I did the Butler Marquette game, TV timeout, media timeout, and I look up at the board, and there's 2 Jesuit priests on the board, their picture. It was being announced that they would be giving out ashes in the concourse of the arena when they played St. John's on Ash Wednesday. Now, the Jesuits take basketball serious. That is over the top serious, that we're giving out ashes in the concourse. That story will stay with me. Meanwhile, we're going to try to figure out a way to see St. Bridget's with Mara Josephine. They're playing for their championship on Thursday night. Fly to St. Louis to see VCU at St. Louis. Fly back Saturday morning to see St. Mary Magdalene and Madeline in her quarterfinal game. And then Sunday, we're going to a celebration for Bob Kleinberg. Kleinbergs are a remarkable family from Lansdowne, big family. Bob is married to Mary Kate. Mary Kate went to college and met Judy the first day they were together at Immaculata, and we're going to that celebration. And then catch my breath, and we will prep for next week's podcast where we're going back into the community. But this is a basketball organization that has served Philadelphia and will be and has been a nominee for the Naismith Hall of Fame.
I have one just very important question for you because I feel like, did you catch, was it 5 basketball games in almost a 24-hour span?
Friday night till it was less than 48 hours. It would have been, let me try to do the math, 48 minus 5, 43 hours. 5 games in 43 hours.
5 games in 43 hours, ranging from second grade rec league to A10 basketball. Which had the highest intensity, you think?
Wow. Certainly the second half, VCU Richmond just kept coming. And they were down 53-30. And then went on some kind of, it was maybe 21-3 run. It was, tore up your stomach a little bit.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, I would say that's probably the right answer. I was just waiting to hear if maybe, one of those, that Sweet 16 Archdiocesan game maybe just gave it a run for its money.
5th and 6th grade girls, and they have a very, very, very good team. And seeing them play, and you know what I really liked? The players on the bench got in. The game was spread out a little bit, and the kids that start were cheering, and all the little brothers and sisters running around. And, for these 5th and 6th graders, if you lose, it's like the end of the world. And for these little kids, it's like, yeah, where are we going next? Like, so do we go to the baseball field, or how does this work? But there is something about teams and families, teams in business, teams in basketball that give me a lot of joy. And hopefully that'll continue because we're really only in the middle of February.
Oh, yeah. We got a lot more hoops to talk about.
Sure thing.
Staying on the topic next week with a terrific guest, Joe Rebzinski, who will join us from the Markwood Club. Going to be terrific to have him on the show. If you're looking to make a difference with Phil, head on over to pnjmakeadifference.com. That's where you can get in touch with Phil to tell him your story, and hopefully he can help you make a difference in the classroom, in the workplace, or on or off the court. We are at Make a Difference Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, at Make a Diff Pod on X. Make a Difference with Phil Martelli on Facebook. If you were watching on YouTube, feel free to like and subscribe. If you were listening on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts, we'd really appreciate that 5-star rating. If you were looking for the Martelli Minute, that is at Phil_Martelli on Instagram every morning at 6:30 a.m., brought to you by Status Solutions. Our thanks once again to Will Tschetter, who was terrific, a Michigan man through and through. Our thanks to him for joining us in a bit of a late notice, but he answered the call. And
as he always has. And I do have to take a little bit of umbrage. You didn't even react to the fact that he was the high school quarterback, second leading scorer in the state. Track, he picked it up just his senior year because he didn't have AAU to play in the spring. Won a state championship. but he played in the school band.
That was the one that I wanted to touch on that one. Yeah, because that was the point where I was like, where do you find the time? Yeah, you said well-rounded.
Yes.
That explains it. And as we kind of hurdle toward the end of the season, we got to stick with our line here.
Oh, yes. There's no question about it. Go Rams.
Go Rams.